Hi guys, welcome to part 2 in the review series of videos for the Kodi wireless TTL triggers for Canon. In this video we're going to have a look at how we go about using the unit to control the flash power, changing modes on your flashes from ETTL to manual, and setting modes such as high speed sync, second curtain and first curtain sync as well. Okay, here we are now with these triggers set up on a 5D Mark II and a 430EX2 flash. We'll have a look at how we go about changing the power settings and the features and functions of the flash, or of these triggers, sorry, as we go on. Now, one thing just quickly that I want to mention, the unit here is actually a transceiver, not just a transmitter. I was mistaken in part 1. So you can use this as a receiver if needs be. I don't like the idea of that because if this goes down on the light stand and breaks the screen, then you're kind of screwed. So I would rather have another dedicated receiver unit than using something like this, but in a bind you can use this as a receiver as well. It will do double duties for you. Now we'll first have a quick look at the button layout here. Nicely laid out and good solid press on the buttons, and I like the fact that you have to give them quite a solid press to get them to do something. That way you're not going to knock this while you're shooting with your head and change settings inadvertently. Okay, the units are powered off AA batteries, both of them, which is nice. You don't have to carry two kinds of batteries in your bag like AAAs and AAs. Solidly built and nice backlit display, which I wish would stay on longer, more so for the purpose of review video really. Okay, now if I press this select button here, I can choose which group I want to play with here and then change the power setting accordingly. Now notice I only have full stops in manual mode. I am running a 430EX2. There you go, the flash is on 1/8 power. It has third stops. I can walk over to the flash, change it in third stops, whoops, go back to the third stop, and there you go, and it works. It gives you the third stop change. Kind of negates the problem, the whole point of having a remote control trigger system. They need to release a firmware update for me to adopt these. The Photix Odins, when they were first released, didn't have third stops. They released a firmware update to solve that, along with a few other things I believe as well. So it can be done, so I don't understand why it can't all be up and running and functioning as expected from the get-go. An omission, maybe. If it isn't a omission, it's silly. So by pressing the select button I can turn it off up to manual mode to ETTL as I wish, and you can of course mix TTL and manual groups if you have more flashes rigged up. All works absolutely fine. Now I can also, there we go, it's on TTL. Now TTL, by the way, will allow you to select the group and dial in your exposure compensation accordingly. Works in TTL, not manual. Okay, now you can of course change from high speed sync. Okay, we can see that there on the flash, second curtain and first curtain sync. That all works perfectly fine. Battery indicator, it's saying it's a master at the moment because it's in master or commander mode. Okay, perfectly fine. Works all very, very well. Had no problems with it at all. My only biggest gripe with this thing is the lack of third stops in manual. It's kind of really bugging me. Another thing as well, another consideration, is the size of this unit. It gets in the way a little bit when you're shooting vertically, which I do quite a bit when I'm shooting portraiture. I do shoot with both eyes open sometimes. It's just so I can spot things that are about to come into the frame or something which may need changing, maybe on a clothing, hair, whatever. It's easier to see with your eye rather than looking through the viewfinder sometimes. And this is right in the way of my open eye, my left eye. I prefer lower profile triggers. That said, I imagine the display would be less usable if it was smaller in size. We'll have a look at how we change some of the other options as well. Okay, we've got a test button there. You may or may not see that flash on the video. And if we go to menu, we can cycle through to change the channels. Okay, from auto or 1 through 15. So there is plenty of channels. We can change the flash zoom by pressing cycling through, picking the group or the flash we want to change, and then, as you can hear, we'll see change the flash zoom remotely. Now that's quite nice. If you've got a flash high up on a 13-foot light stand and you want to zoom it in, Quite a nice feature. And notice these buttons need quite a bit of a press. Okay, and you can cycle it through from master or slave, depending on what duty you have this doing. There. Now if we press the option button, we can go to the ratios, and we can start to take control of the TTL ratios and make changes to those should we wish to. Okay, so TTL ratio there, and we can dial in the ratio accordingly. So it's fully featured. It's like having a 580EX2 on top of your camera, or something like the STE2 Commander. I know they have the new ones out now, but they're pretty high budget. I would prefer having a system like this, the Phottix Odins, where you've got a dedicated controller doing the duties for the controlling, rather than wasting a perfectly good light on top of your camera as a commander. I've never understood doing that, but you know, each to their own. So you have full control over the power, apart from the third stops in manual mode. You can run groups, ratios, ETTL, combination of ETTL and manual. It all works as expected. The range on these things is brilliant. Out to 200 meters, I only had 1 or 2 misfires, and I think it was because it was on auto channel mode amongst a lot of houses, offices and buildings, and it was just cycling through the channels at that point to help with interference. So the range is not an issue. I couldn't test it out at its maximum 400 meters because you wouldn't be able to see the flash. I've not got anywhere nearby that's got the range or the space. So range, you're not going to have a problem. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I rarely put my light more than 3 meters away, 5 meters maybe, and you know, as I'm kind of done, speed lights don't have all the power in the world, so it's 400 meters is pretty good, or even 100 meters really. So very, very nice trigger unit. They need to update the firmware to give us the third stops in manual mode. One thing as well to note also, if you can see the hot shoe on top here, that's nice. We can mount a camera on the trigger or the sender here whilst it's on camera for on-axis fill. Problem with that, if you look at how high this sits up, it's going to change the light pattern because the flash is now higher. It's going to stop you using your ring flash modifier such as the Ray Flash or the Orbis. You can of course still use it for on-axis fill, depends on your working distance. It also will have an effect on the autofocus assist beam. Now any of you guys which are working with a camera like the 5D Mark II does never focus, that may be an issue. Whilst the autofocus assist beam will still work, it does change the pattern of the AF assist beam whilst it's mounted higher. That said, it does work better than the Yongnuruba YN622s. The AF assist beam on that thing just sucks. It's like an afterthought. But again, with the flash beam mounted quite high, it does change, so bear that in mind. I mean, even though I shoot a lot with the 5D2, I don't tend to have to use the AF assist beam a lot, namely because I don't want to flash on top of the camera really anyway. I'll rather just use a torch to help it focus. Either that or bring the sun closer, I don't know. But I'm really, really impressed with this trigger system here. If you are looking at investing in something the price of like the Pocket Wizard systems with the TT5, I forget what they're called now, but their TTL trigger system is pretty pricey. You can probably pick up a set like this or something like the Phottix Odins a lot cheaper, and it's great that we're getting these options now out there. The build quality's come up, the quality of the units has come up. They've got fully featured options and feature sets apart from that stupid lack of 1/3 stops in manual mode, but we're getting there with it. So we have good options, and it's great for hobbyists, it's great for enthusiasts as well as professionals as well. We have other options to go to. The Pocket Wizards are notorious for having issues with 580EX flashes with RF interference because they work on 433 MHz, and you know, Pocket Wizard will release something like a sock you can put over your flash. Like, really? Like, why not try and resolve the interference issue another way instead of an afterthought on releasing a sock? Like, anyway, but a very, very good option for you. I've been really, really pleased with these. The only thing stopping me really adopting these things for myself is the lack of third stops in manual mode. I'm just too used to having that option. I rarely shoot anything like high speed sync because it just robs flash power. and if you want to run one light with modifier and high-speed sync, you're going to be damn near putting the softbox on top of someone's head. So I tend to run without high-speed sync, or I use a lot of hard light, bare flash as well, or find some kind of shaded area. I like being able to control the flash power remotely. That's great, nice little feature. In fact, I'm getting quite used to having that option. So overall, very impressed. Firmware update needs to be brought out to resolve an issue before I start adopting these things, but hopefully that will come soon. I believe they're making a Nikon version, don't know when. That's going to be released, but very impressed. So I have got another part 3 coming up, which will do a comparison on how easy it is to control the power and so forth from this compared to the YN622s. So that will be the next video there for you to watch as well. And please head over to lightingrumors.com to read the full review, which I've written as well. Thanks again to David Selby of Lighting Rumors, and of course the manufacturers of this awesome little TTL trigger system for Canon. We'll catch you guys in the next one.